Well, Nigeria 2015 studios here on Channels Television, and of course the big moments for so many states in the country. 29 of them going into the governorship elections tomorrow, and that is why we're here looking at how this will pan out. We've seen the presidential elections a fortnight ago, and they say relative peace and of course an acceptable election. How well can the electoral umpire go with this particular one coming on in less than 24 hours from now? We're actually going through all of that, trying to see how much of information we can give to you on this particular one, reeling up all the states and seeing what we can get and gather from this particular one. Now, starting off from Plateau State, from where we stopped before a moment, going into our business studios. Let's quickly see what we have on the front. Yes, for Plateau, it's about 1.5 million. That's the number of expected voters. Number of wards, 207, and of course we have just 17 local governments in that particular state, while it's closely followed here in alphabetical order by Niger State with about 1.6 million expected voters. The number of wards and registration areas, 274, and you have the state of Ogun, and what do we find there? 1.1 million with 236 number of registration areas. We're talking about wards, and the local government areas, 20 of them.
Well, you also have Yobe State there, well, close to the end there, with 824,000 voters. Number of wards, 178, and number of local governments, 17. And you also have Zamfara, 1.4 million voters, 147 registration areas with 15 local government areas. And one of the big ones here, Rivers. I don't know why Rivers is coming after Zamfara, but hey, you have Rivers State there.
We had to put it aside.
I guess so, maybe so we can focus attention on it. With a whopping 2.1 million voters, registration areas 319, and 23 local government areas, with Taraba coming next, 1.2 million voters, 168 wards, and 16 local government areas. I think that's where we wrap up the look at the states, number of expected voters. Now, just in case you're wondering how we got the number of expected voters, that is the number of people who were able to pick up their PVCs during the PVC pickup registration period. It's not the number of people who registered, it's a totally different figure. Sometimes, or most times, the number of people who registered are far higher than the number of people who were able to pick up their PVCs. And it was also very different from the number of people who came out to vote on that day. Gentlemen, you're still here. Thank you for staying with us. We have with us Barrister Chima Naji, who was with us here earlier. We also have Captain Umar Aliyu, who's still here, our in-house consultant. And we also have Barrister Ugumadu, Manaki Ugumadu, welcome. Thank you for joining us.
I'm delighted.
Do these figures tell you anything? You've been looking at the figures in terms of registration, pickup, and actual votes we saw on the presidential voting day. Were you surprised? Was it too few? 58 million people in all were able to pick up their PVCs, but only about 25 to 26 million came out to vote.
Actually, what is happening now is what I described as a funnel effect. You see, when you bring a funnel, you pour everything on a large portion of the funnel, then the tubular part of the funnel will begin to gradually siphon into perhaps the container way. So it is possible to hold on to some quantity of what you are now funneling, or maybe allow everything to enter. So what has happened in this instance was, because there are some hiccups, yes, INEC said it was a marginal challenge they had with the card readers, which they hope to correct moving forward. But the card reader also helped to funnel the number of people who were going to vote. Either in that category you have those who were fraudulently registered. Perhaps more people may have been registered, but the card reader has to check that because of the process of verification. Then there were also those who were caught by the fact of the malfunctioning or inability of the card readers to function at all. So that one affected the number. Perhaps if INEC is able to address some of those problems at this particular election of tomorrow, many more voters probably will be able to vote, those who actually turned up. And then some of them who were scared that voting might be a problem if they came out, may also now join tomorrow. So you may probably have an explosion of number of people who want to vote tomorrow, especially as the issues appear to be localized. You know, the issues at the state level are more palpable than issues at the presidential level because of, you know, some of those the people could care less who was the House of Rep candidate or senator, or care less who was going to be in Abuja. But at the state level and the House of Assembly level, it was like bringing everything home. So
I think if you allow me, gentlemen, let's quickly welcome Ambassador Dahiru Sulaiman, the former envoy to Sudan. He was there with us in the early part of today and is still very much around. Good morning and thanks for still being there for us. Very quickly, you've heard the gentleman here, right here in Lagos, talking about the figures and trying to see how this, well, we seem to be having, can you hear me? Well, I think he seemed to be having a bit of problems getting to hear us as soon as that is sorted out. But anyway, Ambassador Sulaiman Dahiru, former envoy to Sudan, he will join us shortly.
Well, we're talking about voter turnout and the factors that could have influenced it. Barrister Chimanaji was talking about some of the factors that could have influenced that. He's talking about security as well. You think that security had a great deal to do with that figure turnout?
It is very difficult to discountenance the facts of security, the concerns of security. However, I would think that having had the benefits of analyzing what it was between those who registered and those who turned out to vote eventually during the presidential election, we could see a trend. We hardly recorded above 50% of those who registered and those who turned out to vote. Indeed, there were palpable fear on the part of the electorates regarding this election. And this is why Nigerians have again vested serious confidence in the behavior of the actors, the main actors, in diffusing the security concern. Some of us had reasons to show our resentment and misgiving regarding the peace accord and all that. But it ought to, I mean, it has seemed to have given a direction in such a way that, got the attention of the people, and by which the tension was able to, be tempered in a sense. Now, my second point on that is the issue of the fit that the Nigerian people had with respect to this election. We got to this election at a point when the Nigerian people had indeed lost faith in the state and its activities. And how do I mean? It was a point at which an average Nigerian saw it as their business. I mean, some who collected their PVCs did that thinking that perhaps one or two things could come in the future and you are expected to produce your PVC, and not necessarily for the purpose of voting. And there was a sense in which most Nigerians believe that, look, it is their business. After all, they will do their thing and they will declare their. Little did Nigerians believe that indeed this was not just a contest, but that the vote of the Nigerian people will count. In that sense, and on that score, I will believe that we might have a higher number this time around, given what people have already experienced with respect to the presidential election, and given the relatively transparent nature of the exercise. I would believe that a lot more people will have more faith in the exercise, having experienced what happened or transpired during the presidential election. But by far more than that is the point that this is by far more a localized exercise, one in which people are nearer to not just the contestant, but the activities of the states and their
Let's see if we still have Ambassador Sulaiman Dahiru online, if it's still very much there. Ambassador, I hope you can hear me now. Ambassador Dahiru Sulaiman, if you can hear me, we would like you to comment on the turnout of voters for the last elections compared to the number of those who registered. I still think, he's having a bit of problems getting to hear us. Can you hear me? Well, we do hope our engineers will sort that out, and let's bring this before you.
Captain
Aliu, because we were trying to also look at the security concerns, which Mr. Ogumado also shares. He said, well, definitely we really can't take that out of the number of voters we've seen. Well, you want to call it apathy or fear of what might happen on that day. Now, looking at what has gone down for the presidential elections, loads and loads of Nigerians have just realized that it was truly peaceful. Do you think we're likely to see, well, a significant amount of voters? We're talking about an increase in those that will be coming out to cast their ballot in states across the country.
Yes, I'm confident to that effect. And I'll tell you why. You see, security is invisible. You cannot see it. You can only feel it. It's either you feel secured or you don't feel secured. That which happened during the presidential elections has already engendered a feeling of confidence, of securedness in even those who stayed at home and didn't go out to vote. What they've heard, what they've seen, has only underscored that thing I called security being a feeling, being invisible. And I'm also very encouraged by what I have observed lately. I have seen certain top brass police officers coming out to tell you this much we have done, this much we're expecting, and we are prepared for it. Feel free to go out and vote.
Well, so much of that from this
Yes,
IG.
that's confidence building. So you see, that kind of seals, or that kind of becomes the icing on the cake. You are seeing it in voter ambience. You are seeing it in the postulations from the law enforcement agencies, and all of it comes to add and drives that feeling I talked about as security being invisible. You can only feel it, you can't see it. So people feeling more secured can actually now say, let us come out. So I'm looking to see an improvement in the figures of people that came out in the presidential election compared to what we'll be getting tomorrow. There's going to be a significant improvement. I'm very confident of that. And even then, for those who want to actually come out and foment trouble, when you gauge the levels of preparedness as reiterated by the law enforcement agency chieftains, and you put it against the morale and the body language and the ambience of the general populace, you find out that their own confidence level dwindles. So security and insecurity becomes like a seesaw approach. Where security appreciates, you see insecurity depreciating.
Well, good a point for us to hang it there. We'll come back, we'll also pick the brains of Dr. Naji on this particular one. Well, Nigeria 2015 here on Channels Television. Hashtag Nigeria 2015. Send in your messages and comments. And by the way, well, a couple of videos trickling in. We do hope that we'll have more of them, and we'll put them into a fantastic view for you on the same platform. We'll be back shortly. Stay with us.